Welcome. I'm Deborah Dirksen, and this is A Bridge to Spirit. Welcome, everyone. Well, how is it that my first podcast starts off with me in a wind-blown kind of look? Because it's the middle of summer, and the sanctuary is blooming hot. I didn't want to say the word bloomin', but I need to put this fan on because it's so hot. Yes, like the intro said, welcome to A Bridge to Spirit. I have wanted to do a podcast for a really long period of time, mostly because I've done a lot of lives, and I think that there's a lot of things to talk about. And if I can do some short little podcasts with some little bursts about spirit or little bursts about life, or little things that inspire me during the day or keep me going through difficult times in my life, this might be a place where I can answer questions that people have, or maybe even do some live readings. That would be really great too. I think it's just kind of going to be a whole mix, this bridge to spirit. Boy, it was really hard to come up with a podcast name and not sound corny. And I had an entire list of things. Thank God for this fan. I had an entire list of things. But A Bridge to Spirit just kind of made sense, because really here we are in this very human earth walk. Me being Deborah, you being your name and your experience at this point in time on this crazy planet. And then we have this entire world of spirit around us. And when I say spirit, I mean our loved ones that have passed, our ancestors from history, guides, spirit guides, angels, other deities, God, the universe, the cosmos. So there are many, many layers, lots of different experiences that I think that I'd like to share with you here too. And I'm going to kind of be careful for the first part, because I have a book hopefully coming out in the fall. I'm supposed to be editing right now, so I'm just going to do this short intro. Hello, this is A Bridge to Spirit, because I would kind of like these two things to coincide together, because I think that there's a lot of things to talk about that I've written in the book, and I'm really excited about that coming out. And I haven't completely named it yet. I think that it is a turn of attention, but who knows? Maybe it is A Bridge to Spirit. Maybe the name of the podcast and the book go together. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, this is just going to be, this podcast will be a hub and a place where I can answer questions. And again, I might go live and record it and then have that recorded podcast. There's so many different things to do here. And I'm going to say new to tech. So I've been figuring out a lot of this stuff on my own, and hopefully I'm going to get some help from my children and other people who have good ideas about how to make this fun and entertaining. So today I want to talk about a session actually that I just came out of. And I think that people make an assumption when they think about mediums and they think about mediumship, that it's all just, easy and quick. And sometimes when I step into a session, I don't like the way that's blowing in my hair. I'm going to put it in front of me again, cool my torso off. I think when people think about mediumship, or people who do the work of mediumship, that they can just answer any questions and that should come easy. And sometimes it just doesn't. Like, for those of you that know me, this experience happened to me out of the blue. 36 years old, I'm driving down the road and suddenly I'm hearing spirit when I'd never been to have my palm read or my tea leaves done. Like, it was a whole new world to me. And so as I've moved and grown through this communication with the other side, the communication with spirit, I've really come to know how each day can be different, and each soul can be different. And I myself can be different on any given day. So I just came out of this session now. And while I loved it in the way that there were some really beautiful things that were shared, it felt like a little bit like walking through molasses, to have the information come out. And sometimes I can step into a session and it's just like, boom, everything is there. And I leave with my jaw open at how amazing Spirit has been able to communicate. And so first off, I just wanted you to know that all communications are not the same, and all days are not the same, and all mediums are not the same. And so I just arrive personally to this as best I can each day. And I have to personally go through layers of acceptance for just what it is. Of course, you can feel wonderful and happy when something went really well. But I also have to feel appreciative of even when things didn't go like a rock star moment. Do you know what I mean? When things were sluggish. Sometimes it's my issue, sometimes it's their issue, sometimes it's the timing, who knows? Anyway, I just wanted to say that in a very real sense, mediumship is not magic. And sometimes we have a great connection and sometimes we don't. And I am learning just to come into the acceptance of that. I'm going to say like 99% of the time, we just have a lovely time. But there are those times where I feel like things have been sluggish. And today is one of those days. So that's okay. But I do want to, on the heels of that, mention or talk a little bit about something that I say to all of my clients in the beginning. When I start off a session, I say, this is not magic. This is not mystical. I really believe that spirit communication, and by spirit communication, again, I mean our loved ones in spirit, angelic realm, spirit guides, the divine itself. Spirit communication is happening for all of us all the time. I just happen to have the dial turned up, and that dial turned up, I think, has been in me since I was a child. Not that I was ever seeing or hearing spirit as a child, but that my emotional sensitivities, my sensitivities to the world were always very amped up. And I want you to know how natural and normal it is to have experiences with spirit. And I think that we're having experiences with spirit in a way that we don't realize we are. So sometimes people think that a spiritual experience is that they see a ghost. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the hall, there's the ghost and they saw it. Or they saw an object move, or they heard a sound and they can't explain that sound, or they had some other kind of what we might call paranormal thing happen. And while, yes, those are very profound spiritual experiences, that's the least of what happens. So I want to describe a situation to you to say that maybe you could reflect in your own life about where some of this may be happening. So yes, I do mediumship. And yes, I've done this for a long time now. So, but anyway, this story should demonstrate it. So I had no sessions one particular day. And then I got a call the evening before, and a man needed to see me. So I booked the appointment with him. It was 4:00 in the afternoon. At least I think that's how it went. Usually I don't have a 4:00 in the afternoon appointment. And usually I have several appointments a day. This particular day, I had no appointments except this 4:00 appointment with this gentleman. So in the morning, I was watering the garden out front, and we have gardens out front and a little bit of garden down the side, and then a lot of garden in the back of our home. And so I'm watering the garden out the front. It's about 10:00 in the morning. And I was just enjoying standing there watering. It's very meditative and very peaceful. And all of a sudden I think, oh my God, we should keep bees. And I was envisioning those little bee boxes. And I thought, oh, this would be so great. We could keep bees. It would be supportive to the bee environment. It would be great for our gardens. And so I'm fantasizing about this in my mind as I'm standing watering the front garden, and my husband was at work. And then I was even in my mind going through the conversation of how I could convince Norm that we could keep bees in the back. So I leave the front yard and I'm pulling the hose down the side of the house. And as I get halfway down the side of the house, I was like, oh, wait a second. I can't keep bees. Half the time I run inside the patio door when there's a bee outside and shut the door. Like, how am I going to keep bees? So I thought, Deborah, that's just ridiculous. Like, you'll never get yourself to be calm enough to be a beekeeper. So I just kind of let the whole thought go and kind of chuckled at myself and then went on watering the back garden. So come my 4 o'clock session, I'm sitting with this gentleman. It's over a Zoom call. And, we're a good maybe 15, 20 minutes into the conversation and his dad is communicating. And then all of a sudden, his dad says to me, Deborah, go to the conversation. He doesn't say this in words. There's kind of a leaning that spirit does. So he indicated through my mind's attention. He took me to the garden in the morning, showed me the thoughts that I was having in the garden in the morning, and said, talk about that to my son. And so I said, I don't know why your dad wants me to talk about this, but I'm going to tell you what I was thinking this morning when I was in the garden. So I described to him exactly what happened. And now the man is very emotional. And he says, Deborah, my dad was a beekeeper for 25 years. And it was devastating that for the last portion of his life, he wasn't able to be with the bees anymore. And so how amazing is that? That for 25 years, this guy's dad is a beekeeper. And this is the way my thoughts were leaning in the morning. So this is what I want you to understand. I wasn't standing there and some guy walked up to me and said, hi, I'm for your 4 o'clock appointment. My dad or my son, you're going to see my son and I'm a beekeeper. Like, that's not how it happens. All of a sudden, this subtlety came over my mind of the thought of keeping bees. And I personalized it. I thought it was my thought. But this is how spirit works a lot. And I don't believe that it's just with me. I think we go about our day and we have these subtle influences that occur. Like, what about the times that that all the time you turn right to go to work? Why this one day did you suddenly turn left? And you go, oh my God, why have I turned left? But you were guided to turn left. And then sure enough, there was an accident if you had turned right. Where did that prompting come from? Where did that sudden turn? You always go to this coffee shop. But this day you went to that coffee shop. And at that coffee shop, you met somebody that you hadn't seen for 30 years, right? That maybe you had just been thinking about the week before. So I guess what I'm saying in this very first podcast is that mediumship is not easy. You can't always control it. Also, too, that we just need to arrive for spirit with love and just kind of do the best we can with it. And the other is that I'd like all of you to pay attention to the subtle ways that spirit is also talking to you. And that might just be that your thoughts suddenly shifted to something that it wouldn't normally shift to. And then you might question, I wonder where that's coming from. Here's another good little example. So I can't remember how long ago this was. Anyway, the point is, I was talking to a client and this woman said, oh, that's right. Her aunt came through in the session. And so my client said to me, Deborah, it's so crazy. She said, my aunt always made these gingerbread cookies. And the gingerbread cookies were just kind of like a favorite of the family. So the aunt's been gone for a really long time. And this woman, my client, she suddenly had the thought one day, oh, I'm going to make these gingerbread cookies. So she found the recipe and she made her aunt's gingerbread cookies. But what she didn't know was that the day that she decided to make the gingerbread cookies was the day that her aunt had died. So again, there's another example of that. She's just going about her day and all of a sudden she gets this thought of, oh, I'm going to make the gingerbread cookies, not realizing, because her aunt had died so long previously, not realizing that it was actually the day of her aunt's passing. So it's kind of like their little hello to us creates this sort of shift of attention in the mind. That's what happens in mediumship. But again, I think that it's happening to many of us more often than we think. So hopefully that's a little gem that helps you to maybe assess a little bit more, become a little bit more aware of the more subtle changes that happen in your life too. So some of you, when I post this, may have questions. And go ahead, ask them, because questions are really great to initiate more dialogue and conversation. But I love you all. I love that these are going to be episodes of A Bridge to Spirit, and take care of yourselves.